This is like manna from heaven for Donald Trump. I mean, you can't imagine a better scenario because, he had a good track record on the economy, and then came along these two, Biden and Harris, who now it seems not only did a lousy job with our economy, but apparently their White House miscalculated along the way to the tune of nearly 1 million jobs that they overestimated. We're digging in to all of it. Donald Trump is out for the attack. We'll get to that. Plus, oh my gosh, what was that about? Obamas have clearly taken over the DNC. We knew that, but then we had to hear from them on stage last night. And one, they're total socialists, and two, they're a little bit crude. Okay, we're gonna talk about what Obama said and what it really, really meant. Oh, and it turns out these policies that they keep trying to force feed us, they don't really work. Now, do they? You know how we know they don't work? Companies are bailing one after another, whether it be Harley Davidson, they just said they're getting rid of their whole DEI initiative, or whether it be Ford. Ford is saying no more EV trucks. It is totally scrapping its EV trucks all together, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the big show. I am Trish Regan. Do make sure that you subscribe. Do make sure you share, you like. It's live, so careful what you're saying there on the live chat. I do read them all, believe it or not. So like I said, I got eyes. Even though I'm talking to you, I see out of the corner of my eye. I sound like my first grade teacher's sister, Julie. She told us she had eyes in the back of her head. I had like nightmares for years. Maybe I still do. Anyway, let's get to the big story here. Obama, first of all, before, see, there was just a tease on the jobs. Obama, can you imagine this guy as if he couldn't get more crude? Obama went to the convention and had to say something. I didn't even sort of see it that way because, I'm kind of literal and I just sort of heard what I heard and I wasn't really paying attention to his hand gestures, but people were kind of put off and they're like, really, this was kind of unacceptable. And you want to talk about hitting below the belt? Like literally, this was not appropriate. But I don't think that they care about what's appropriate. I think that they're going to lie, cheat, and steal however they can to do whatever they need to do. And if they have to say, a few things with some innuendo along the way, they don't really care. Here's Barack Obama. I want to know what you think. I mean, is this what everybody says it is? They're saying it's a sort of crude, off-color joke, or did he just really mean crowd size? We'll discuss. Watch.
The people who will decide this election are asking a very simple question. Who will fight for me? Who's thinking about my future, about my children's future, about our future together? One thing is for certain, Donald Trump is not losing sleep over that question. Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago. It has been a constant stream of gripes and grievances that's actually been getting worse now that he's afraid of losing to Kamala. There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on.
So a lot of people are saying that was uncalled for and unnecessary. Look, I just think that Obama's pretty desperate right now. I mean, they're obviously so desperate that they had to change their nominee. that certainly smacks of some desperation, if you would. And then you think about how controlled and measured everything has been since then. There was at one point last week when the CNN anchor was asking the Kamala Harris campaign director, hey, is she going to do any appearances? Are we going to hear from her? Is she meeting with, and all you got back was, well, she's traveling the country. She's really, really focused. And the anchor's like, but wait a second, is she actually going to speak anywhere, or is she actually going to be anywhere? And it turned out no. They couldn't really answer the question, but the reason the answer is no is because she was so busy taping these goofy commercials with a really goofy guy who I don't know how we're supposed to take seriously. I'm going to show you coming up some video of him as he hit the floor at the DNC last night doing a really weird dance. I mean, this guy's got some moves, shall we say. Meanwhile, Obamas are large and in charge. Michelle was the warm-up act to Barack. And here she is going full-on socialist. I'm telling you, don't say I didn't warn you. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama are socialists. And not only that, they're going to use anything and everything they can to their advantage. And if that means that they have to go really low, the race baiting stuff that they're so fond of doing, they're going to do it. Listen to her.
We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth. If we bankrupt a business or choke in a crisis, we don't get a second, third, or fourth chance. If things don't go our way, we don't have the luxury of whining or cheating others to get further ahead. No. We don't get to change the rules so we always win. If we see a mountain in front of us, we don't expect there to be an escalator waiting to take us to the top. No.
Wow. So predictable, of course, nonetheless really alarming. And when you combine it with the other stuff that's going on, as far as this job numbers, as far as what we're getting out of Wall Street, I'll tell you, we got some problems here. Stunning island of Ireland. Just incredible. When I was a little kid and we'd visit here, my mom would say, if you're lucky enough, you might actually get a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow, because that's where the leprechauns leave it. So we looked, we didn't find any, but I consider it probably having been good advice, because as I got older, I learned that gold is pretty valuable. It's valuable in terms of diversification. I encourage you to take a look at it. And when you do, call our friends, our wonderful sponsors over at American Hartford Gold. You can go to trishlovesgold.com, Trish Loves Gold, and wow, it's windy here. You can text 65532, my name, Trish, to 65532 for your chance to get up to $15,000 in free silver, ladies and gentlemen. Just a terrific offer. Indeed. And by the way, gold prices have been on a tear lately, a total tear. Remember to subscribe to the show, share, like, all of that. I want to turn now to the stunning
the job
jobs
growth
numbers.
has been far weaker in the
numbers.
U.S. than originally reported. That is according to new data just coming in this morning. Let's get right to CNN's Matt Egan. What's the headline, Matt?
Jim, 818,000 fewer jobs were added during the period between April 2023 and March of this year. We were bracing for these revisions to come out and show that job growth was weaker, and that is what we got. This is probably on the high end of the expectations.
Just a little.
Some of the forecasters had been saying probably around few 100,000 jobs. Goldman Sachs had said maybe up to 1 million. So this is on the higher end. We're seeing some of the biggest revisions downward in sectors that include manufacturing, leisure and hospitality, professional and business services.
All right. So just a little, 818,000 jobs. That's how much they overestimated. So the Biden-Harris Labor Department, every single month, they calculate what's known as non-farm payrolls. And they say, we're adding this many jobs to the economy. And, well, each month they come forward with a revision. And often they're wrong. They underestimate, they overestimate. In the case of this little duo, they overestimated a lot, okay? I had a feeling something was up, because here's the deal, guys. You'd actually have seen greater wage inflation if we were really adding that many jobs. But we weren't adding that many jobs. That was all fiction. So CNBC, out with its report, 818,000 jobs. That's how much they're revising down. So this is a big deal. It's kind of a whopper, because when I heard this, like I nearly fell off my chair. The reason being that you might anticipate a few 100,000. There were some calls that were considered more extreme by Goldman Sachs and Wells Fargo that were predicting as many as 600,000 jobs light that the administration was off by. But it turns out it was 818,000 jobs that they were off by. So no, we're not creating a lot of jobs. This is not a good economy. Why the heck would anybody give this woman another chance? She's had, thank you very much, 3.5 years to try and fix things, and she hasn't. This is pretty stunning. And of course, from a political perspective, this plays right into Donald Trump's hands. As it should. I mean, look, 3.5 years, and you know what we have to show for it. Inflation, tons of it. Gasoline up to 51%, electricity up 32%, airfare up 23%, groceries up 22%. My gosh, car insurance 54%, eggs 47%. You get the picture. Well, he's out on Truth Social saying exactly this. Donald Trump weighing in on the job scandal, writing, massive scandal. The Harris-Biden administration has been caught fraudulently manipulating job statistics to hide the true extent of the economic ruin that they have inflicted upon America. New data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that the administration padded the numbers with an extra 818,000 jobs that do not exist and never did. The real numbers are much worse than that. And if Comrade Kamala gets another 4 years, millions more jobs will vanish overnight, and inflation will completely destroy our country. Your life savings will be wiped out. With a Trump victory, we will once again have the greatest economy in the world. MAGA 2024. So here's the thing, like I'm just saying, like, you know, I don't know anything with this team, 51X spooks. That's all I can think of. And their darn laptop that they tried to tell us was completely fictitious. I mean, I'd like to believe that the economists at the Labor Department are not deliberately trying to mislead the public, right? But you're like 818,000 jobs. Like, that's a big whiff. Like, that is one big old miss, you guys. And now we find out, at least we found out. So here's the deal. We know she stinks on economic policy, and it's going to get worse if you allow the socialists to come into being for another 4 years. That's the reality. Here's a Fox reporter talking about it. He's out at Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Jackson Hole being the site of where the Fed is gathering, or at least all the big deal sort of Fed types that are gathering there in Jackson Hole, Wyoming for their annual retreat. We're going to get a prognosis on the economy from Powell on Friday. Ahead of that, this is a doozy. I mean, like, this is a big one. They must be like, what the heck? You know, because they rely on this data, but you can't, not when they are off 818,000.
This is a huge revision down, 818,000 fewer jobs. This is basically the government's overstated the amount of people in the workforce. And even when you look under this, manufacturing was down 115,000 people. So this is a revision down, a significant revision down, the largest in 15 years that we've seen. And it basically says that the government has now overstated the amount of people who are working in this workforce. It shows weakness in the job markets over the past year that we didn't realize was there, but now we know is there. So again, 818,000 overall jobs down, manufacturing down 115,000 in this. And if you just wrote construction down 45,000. So these numbers are huge numbers in revisions down.
You know, and that's kind of a big deal because, again, we've had inflation in so many sectors of the economy, and yet when it comes to jobs and wage growth, we just haven't seen it there. So if you go back in time, you'd have to go back at least 15 years, probably more than 15 years. Actually, the number could be quite startling because I've certainly in my career, and I've been covering markets since the year 2000. As a journalist, I mean, I've been in and around them since 99. I would say that I've never seen anything quite like this. 818,000 is a very, very large revision by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And basically what that kind of means is every month, you know, if they come out and they say, hey, you know, we are adding however many jobs, I think they were estimating it somewhere around 246,000 jobs that they were adding to the economy. In reality, it's more like 178,000 jobs per month that they've been adding to the economy. Look, just to keep pace with population growth, and this is an old statistic, one that I used to reference like 10 years ago, you needed at least 350,000 jobs to be added to the economy each month. The reason I say it's an old statistic is that given how many people, migrants, are coming across the border into our economy, into our country, you actually need more than that in order to keep pace with the population growth, which we can't put a hard number on because it's all illegal. So this is stunning. I mean, just a really, really, really big deal. And I think it's going to have some effect on Fed policy, meaning the Fed might try and be more aggressive. Now, whether or not they should be, that's a whole other question. We've actually got a big report coming out on this in today's 76 quick take. So 76 Research, if you guys aren't subscribed to this, make sure that you do subscribe to this because this is a great opportunity for you. Let me see if I can put the, let me put the notice up here for you to get 76 Research, because I think it's just really, really, really important that you invest right about now, that you invest and that you take this opportunity to try and figure out what's really working. My colleague over at 76, Rob Horton, who you've heard me talk about, and some of you follow us there on the 76 YouTube page. There we go. Now it's working. Anyway, Rob is just brilliant and a phenomenal stock picker with a very long history, a couple of decades on Wall Street, running billions of dollars. And we've set up some model portfolios for you. So you can do an inflation protection portfolio, which you probably want right about now because the Fed's going to be more aggressive. These are things that you've got to watch for with all this inflation. An income generator portfolio, which is designed to give you some dividend income, right? I'm a big believer in dividend stocks, and I'm a big believer in getting paid no matter what, right? So even during the downside, having that dividend opportunity. And then the other biggie is I am also a big believer in our future. My kid dragged me to the Apple store the other day. I had to put the Apple Vision Pro goggles on, and I said, well, this makes me feel really good about all my tech investing. Anyway, so that is the American Resilience portfolio. So Rob and I have hand-selected each of these stocks, 10 to 15 in each of the portfolios for you. And guess what? Special back-to-school offer. I want you to do this. I really do. So I want to make it affordable. It's code word dollar, DOLLAR. Go to 76 Research, type in code word dollar, and get all that information. Like I said, we're coming out with a report this afternoon on just exactly what went down there at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, because I'm telling you guys, this is not normal. Like, it's just not normal what's going down. And I think that, we've got to actually hold some people accountable. I have no doubt Donald Trump will. And so this, as I said, politically anyway, plays right into his hands. If you look at all the recent polls, what you see is over and over and over again, people say the same thing. They trust him on the economy. They don't trust her. So why would anybody vote for her? I don't know as they really will. I think there's a lot of hoopla. There's a lot of excitement. I mean, just like there was excitement about EVs. Remember that? Everybody was going to go and get an EV, and they kept telling us, EVs were the way of the future. Well, guess what? News today that EVs aren't doing so well. Here's Ford coming out with saying it's cutting everything. No EV trucks. It's going to take a charge of $1.9 billion. It has to write this off, guys. This is real money just going into thin air, because you know what? Nobody wants these things. This is all concocted by the likes of Team Obama, brought to you courtesy of Harris and Biden and Jennifer Granholm, who somehow is our Department of Energy secretary, but doesn't believe that we should actually be energy independent or sourcing our own energy. No, she was all about EVs, EVs, EVs. And this is a big thumb in the nose. Ford canceling plans for electric SUVs. It's taking a 1.1, I almost said 1.1. It's nearly a $2 billion charge. I mean, let's just call it what it is. The company said it's scrapping the model altogether, citing tough pricing pressure as automakers resort to aggressive discounts to move their EV inventory. Remember when Tom Brady got that big deal with Hertz? And then all of a sudden, Hertz said, no, we're getting rid of our EVs. Like, he was promoting all those EVs. And now they realized over at Hertz, nobody wants to rent an EV. Think about it. I mean, hey, you're in Timbuktu. You don't know where you're going. You really don't want to run out of fuel. And if you don't know where the charging station is, that means effectively that you can't keep going. I mean, it's funny, but they had grand plans. Ford was going to do this big Cybertruck. If you're watching online on our live YouTube show, you can see this was the Cybertruck. This is the CEO getting up and giving a big presentation about it. But now those days are over. Ford is canceling all plans for its EV vehicles. Toyota, funny enough, just said the same thing the other day. They're only going to do hybrids. They're not going to be in on this whole EV thing. You know, they really didn't like EVs to begin with. My colleague at 76 Research, Rob, and I were just talking about this earlier today because this is an interesting company in that it really never went, 2 feet in on this whole electric vehicle thing. They always kind of lingered by the sidelines. And now they just came out and said, you know what? We're committed to hybrids. That's a positive spin way of saying we don't want to do EVs. They don't want to do EVs because people want optionality, right? So even if you say, oh yeah, I think that's the future, the point is they're not there now. They're not there now. And until they get there, you can't force feed them, even though our energy secretary seems to think you can. Here she is, the former governor of Michigan. Oh, and also a failed MSNBC host, Jennifer Granholm.
In this bill, of course, making sure that we are driving down costs for real people of electric vehicles is very important. And so being able to claim a tax credit, people can pancake on that tax credit with state incentives. There are 14 states that also have rebates for electric vehicles. That makes the lower end cars like the Nissan Leaf, the Chevy Bolt, others, much more affordable for people who are looking to buy a vehicle. And of course, the savings from a vehicle perspective of owning, maintaining, and not having to fill up are just enormous.
Well, it didn't work out so well, right? That was 2022. So nothing's worked out so well for the Obama administration. Oops, I said it. For the Biden administration, for the Biden-Harris administration. So what makes you think that anything's going to work out better again? I mean, these CNN hosts were like sort of flabbergasted because one of their contributors, they every so often will throw in a token conservative. And this guy used to work on Capitol Hill. They'll occasionally get these little, little dings from their conservatives. And I want you to see this because the anchors were like, wait, what? He basically just said, okay, ladies and gentlemen, he basically said, Kamala Harris's and Biden's policies have totally sucked. And so watch their response. Here we go.
In all these speeches, as good as they were, is that she's in the White House right now. Democrats have controlled the White House for 12 of the last 16 years. And for all of the talk about division and the problems in the country and people are hurting, Democrats have mostly controlled this country. Trump had it for 4. The Obamas and Biden had it for the rest of the time. And somehow, it's still all Trump's fault, and somehow she hasn't been at the center of it. So to me, that's still the glaring hole in this campaign that hasn't yet been solved at the convention. How do you explain all of the problems that will be solved by the person who is currently in there for the last 3.5 years, who is supposed to already be working on solving it? But in all these speeches,
okay,
as good as they
I got to go back to that. See, do you see her face? She's looking at him like, I am going to kill you now. But it's the most obvious thing in the world. I mean, after all, how do you possibly elect somebody who's put us in such a miserable spot? And we're in a miserable spot. Dare I go back to that darn inflation graphic? This is what you call a miserable spot. And you combine that with the fact that they've inflated, I'm being nice, right? Donald Trump would say they're lying to you about those jobs numbers. They've inflated the jobs numbers, and that all comes out. Look, we're not in a good spot. And Kamala Harris is not going to change it. They have bad policies, and typically bad policies result in bad results, which is one of the reasons why I encourage you guys, go look at, Project 25. It keeps getting such bad press. I mean, the Democrats are all over it, even in Chicago. But you know what? We need policies that are going to grow our economy. And that means smart energy policy. It means, having a smaller, leaner government that's not so all-encompassing that they're going to be in your business the way they've been in a lot of people's businesses over the last 3.5 years. We need education ideas, which is what this is all about. How do we put more hands more power in the hands of the families, right? This is what Project 2025 is really about. So I encourage you to go look at the truth about it. Don't listen. I know you won't. I know you won't listen to the nonsense that's fed by the Democrats right now. But even so, it's important to be informed. Go to 25truth.com. They have 5 pillars to this for Project 2025. And I think it's, look, I'm a pretty straight shooter on this stuff. I want nothing but stability and growth. So part of stability is safety, opportunity. And those two things, when you have a safe environment that provides opportunity for everyone, that's really the magic sauce. And that's what gets us ahead. And that has been America's success for the however many years. And we got to keep that going. We really do. Otherwise, we're gonna be no better than Europe, where I just was. It was very interesting. It's one of the reasons why, you look at what's going on in this $35 trillion. I mean, they had the European debt crisis. Who's to say we're not going to have the U.S. debt crisis? It's one of the many reasons why I actually like the diversification into gold. If you are looking to invest in gold, 1, I encourage you to do so. 2, I encourage you to call my friends over at American Heart for Gold. You can text my name, Trish, Trish, to 65532 to get up to $15,000 in free silver today, or call them 1-844-495-1115, or just go to trishlovesgold.com. I'm going to put that in the show notes as well, so you have it. Trish Loves Gold, hard to forget, .com, or just text Trish to 65532, because we've got a policy situation, frankly, that is not, if this team continues, not going to be conducive to having the best opportunity for each and every American. And I think that's been proven. You know what else has been proven? You know what else has been proven? Democrats can't dance. I don't think they can, at least not the ones that they keep putting out there for display. Did you see the funky moves from Tim Waltz? I played you something the other day. Maybe it was in the show, maybe it was in the short feed of my former colleague over at Fox, Jesse Waters, saying, men just really shouldn't move like this. I kind of am tempted to agree with him. I'm like, does he have like a nervous tick or something? Like, his body just has to keep moving around like a noodle. He's like a comedy act. He's like a really bad actor, this Tim Waltz. And it makes me nervous because they keep propping him up. He's supposed to be great. Like, everybody's, nice guy, just kind of like a golden retriever lapdog. I mean, it's kind of unacceptable to me. He's going to be the vice president of the United States. I don't want a golden retriever lapdog. I mean, maybe Kamala does. Hey. But we don't need that for our vice president. I mean, to think that this guy, you got to see it, could be the president in the event something happens to her, watch. Okay, so here he comes out on stage. They announce him, Governor Tim Waltz, and he starts they're playing John Mellencamp's song in the background, and he's just weird. I mean, I'm going to use that word, weird. He loves the crowd. Look at this guy. He just loves the attention all day long with weird little movements. I think it might be some kind of weird tick or something. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to the debate. I'm looking forward to the debate between Kamala and Trump on ABC News. She has refused to do the Fox News debate. He confirmed that just yesterday. Trump did. But there's going to be a really good debate between J.D. Vance and Tim Waltz. And I think it's in part because Tim Waltz is so unbelievably dumb. Okay, there I said it. I mean, for goodness sakes, the guy, he doesn't own one stock. Not one stock. He doesn't own his home. He's been making 6 figures for like 20 years, for goodness sakes. So he's either really, really dumb or he's a total socialist. Either way, not good for us. Here's JD talking about, on top of that, he lies too, because they all lie. He was some kind of big military hero, except he inflated that. Oh, kind of like they inflated the jobs numbers. JD Vance, take it away.
Before the end of the campaign, Tim Waltz is going to be talking about how he was carrying an M16 through the jungles of Vietnam. But this guy, everything that comes out of his mouth about his military service is at least 25% a lie. And, it occurred to me, the closest Tim Waltz has ever come to combat, even though he says he carried a weapon in war, the closest Tim Waltz has ever come to combat is when he let rioters burn Minneapolis to the ground a few years ago, right?
Yeah. Right? I mean, This is not good. This is not good. Minneapolis was one of the worst places, of course, in 2020. And that was okay. They were willing to allow that kind of violence. And look, nobody wants that. Even the people living in these communities, you want to be able to ensure that your kids can go to school safely. You want to be able to ensure that you're not struggling with what people are struggling with. Let me be very clear. On the south side of Chicago, where the murder rate has escalated so horrifically, you need the safety and security in order to learn, in order to have any kind of economic prosperity. These are basics. And yet these clowns, and they are clowns. I mean, don't tell me that this guy is not a clown. He's like the chief clown. Or, oh, here's our other clown.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know? What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
I'm going to unburden you from listening to that. There are clowns that want to control our country. We have to make sure that we are out in force, guys. And that we are passionate and articulate about what we believe in. Because there's a real danger here. Okay, not to get too heavy, because I got to show you something funny. Not only can they not dance, they can't sing. Those Democrats, oh my gosh, I heard this and I thought I was listening to some kind of SNL skit. Wait until you see this. I mean, it's our national anthem, thank you very much. Let's have a little pride, shall we? Shall we? Okay, like there's no way these people should have been allowed to utter a sound out of their mouths.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's
Okay. I'm going to save us here. So part of the problem is I'm very sensitive to sound because, well, I, as you can see, have a background as a singer, classical. I played piano from the time I was a really little kid, like 40. I could read music, believe it or not, before I could actually read English. So there you go. So I have a background in music, and when people mutilate the national anthem, as we just heard those lovely ladies do, I mean, it's not a joke. It's actually a really important song, and I know it's hard to sing, but I made this recording a couple of years ago because everybody was so anti-national anthem, right? They came out with the other national anthem, and they kept pushing. I'll stop for a second for those of you that like to hear it, but this was important for me, I felt, to do on the 4th of July. Anyway. Our flag was still there. Anyway, we're going to get to some more news because RFK Jr. and Trump may be joining forces. Okay, we got a high note. Okay, I had to do that because I put you through that torture of listening to the Democrats sing the national anthem. Anyway, moving on to more news. Make sure you guys subscribe, you share, you like, and maybe I'll sing some more, okay? RFK and Donald Trump possibly joining forces. We're getting word that they're going to be both in Arizona on Friday, and RFK Jr. is going to be announcing what exactly his intentions are with his campaign. At the same time, Donald Trump has a rally going on there, and Donald Trump has already indicated that he is quite willing to give RFK some kind of position, a cabinet position potentially. Let's just not let him near the economy, okay? But a cabinet position. I have mixed feelings on RFK. There's a lot of things that he says that are really spot on, and he's anti-establishment in the way that you need to be, and I think that's important. He's thinking outside the box, and you know what? In a real real republic or democracy, you've got to have people that are thinking outside the box, and you've got to have a lot of different viewpoints at the table. Now, we may be committed to capitalism, as you should be, and as Donald Trump is, but bringing and introducing somebody like RFK Jr. on, into the equation there in a cabinet meeting, it's an important viewpoint to have, I actually think. And politically speaking, it could be really, really helpful. If you look at the most recent Fox News poll, laser tight, all right? 50% to Harris 49. I have some thoughts in that maybe people aren't so willing to say what they're doing. Here's a little bit better of one. You had the Rasmussen just last week coming out showing Trump at 49 and Harris at 45. But listen, if suddenly you had RFK on board, what would that do? I think it would actually help move a lot of those people that might be edging towards Harris. And here's Nicole Sheridan, who is his vice presidential pick at the top of the ticket with him, telling a podcast host, in fact, just yesterday, that they're looking at this really hard. Watch.
There's two options that we're looking at, and one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Waltz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump, and we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision. Not easy.
Clearly.
Yeah, not an easy decision.
So reportedly they're out of money. They can't keep the campaign going. So they do need to make a decision. And I think that it's entirely possible that we do see them align themselves with Donald Trump. It's in part why you had the Washington Post story just the other day, last week. In fact, I think that the Kamala camp got wind of this and they were trying to cut it off, right? Like trying to get ahead of the news. And so they leaked a story that I do not believe was that well sourced, saying that RFK was going hat in hand looking for a position in the cabinet with Kamala Harris. And I don't actually think that that's the case. I actually think he's more closely aligned with some of the sort of renegade values of another Trump administration. But I think that they wanted to try and position it that way because they're also trying to bring in some of his voters because he was sort of messing things up for both sides, if you would. And I think that this would be totally a win for Donald Trump if he gets out. Look, I mean, these polls are tight, even though they're trying to present something else. I mean, I think the Rasmussen one is worth watching. The Fox one, also worth watching. Some people, if they're smart, are getting worried, like David Axelrod, who ran the Obama campaign.
Changed dramatically, but this is still a very competitive race. If the election were today, I'm not sure who would win, and I think it may well be President Trump because it's an electoral college fight,
right.
And in those battleground states.
Yeah, we were looking at national numbers right. At the top of this program. It's misleading.
And I've said several times here that. For a Democrat to win those battleground states, they have to have a significant lead in the Electoral College. Remember, Joe Biden won by 7 million votes nationally last time, and a margin of 45,000 votes or 44,000 votes in the three closest battleground states combined.
Okay, so I think there is a pathway, and I think it's going to be tough. So that's why, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I don't think that this is the panacea that the left wants you to think it is. I don't think that the voters are like, okay, Kamala's in, now I'm in. I think that she's still going to have a really uphill battle. I don't think people take her seriously. I do think that the last 3.5 years and the misery that people have felt from an economic perspective is there and will continue to haunt her. So it's really important that Trump double down on all of that, It's really, but again, he's got a shot. He's absolutely got a shot. These are national polls. And again, the national polls are interesting to watch, but ultimately, you know what you want? You want to win the states. And Pennsylvania, 2 new polls out of Pennsylvania showing Donald Trump ahead in Pennsylvania. Another new poll, Roanoke College coming out in Virginia, showing he's within the margin there in Virginia, which has been historically in recent years quite blue. And I think a lot of Democrats are still mad. I mean, consider this one. What do you think? Did Bernie Sanders just diss Democrats to their faces? I mean, if you were watching this thing last night, all of a sudden Bernie Sanders gets up there, and what he had to say seemed to be quite pointed to Obama and his benefactors, like the Pritzker family, right? The Pritzker hotel family out of Illinois, out of Chicago. Yeah, they get a lot of money. A whole lot of people that are there at the DNC, they get a lot of money. And Bernie doesn't really seem to have any use for any of them. Of course, if you remember the history there, they handpicked Hillary Clinton over him. And what did they just do to Joe Biden? Whether you like Biden or not, my gosh, that was really quite something to see go down in real time, was it not, ladies and gentlemen? Here's Bernie commenting on the matter.
At the very top of that to-do list is the need to get big money out of our political process. Billionaires in both parties should not be able to buy elections, including primary elections.
Tell him, Bernie. Tell him. I mean, it's a rare moment when I find myself agreeing with Bernie Sanders. As far as, you know, they want to paint Trump as nothing but that big billionaire. Yeah, that billionaire that they're trying to bankrupt because he dared to run again. The one that they hit with the massive, insane fine, Letitia James, yeah. I mean, that was crazy, right? $500 million. They're way out over their skis. And as far as billionaires running, you know, when he ran, initially he was self-financed, and then it became a campaign of the people. And it became a campaign where just individuals were donating $10 at a time, $25 at a time, $5 at a time. And that's what really sent him soaring. So Hillary Clinton, back in 2016, I remember this well, she had all the money. He didn't. Okay, he didn't. And yet, who won that election? They're sinking money into this like you wouldn't believe. They took Bernie out, put Hillary in. They took Biden out and put Kamala in. People are getting a little annoyed by it. Very, very annoyed by it. So, have you guys been following this story? Like, occasionally I do a little entertainment just for fun, just to keep it fresh, right? J-Lo and Ben Affleck are finito, done, divorced, or at least she's filed for divorce. The actual divorce could get a little bit sticky here because according to the Daily Mail, I love the Daily Mail. According to the Daily Mail, there's no prenup. So I'm like, are you kidding me? Now, do I believe in prenups? You know, no, you're starting out your life together, two young kids, you know, trying to make your way. But when you're Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, and like she's pushing 55, I think, and he's up there too. I mean, they're no spring chickens. They're extremely wealthy from everything that they have managed to create in this great country that is the United States of America. They came, both of them, from very little and have been quite successful. Again, thank you to the wonderful capitalist infrastructure that is the United States of America and everybody in Hollywood seems to want to destroy. But anyway, J-Lo and Ben Affleck apparently rushed into this marriage a couple of years ago and never signed a prenup. So the thinking is that they're going to have to take the assets from the last couple of years and then divide them equally. Well, it makes you wonder if actually not signing a prenup became a whole form of stress in and of itself. Because apparently J-Lo's not been doing so well. I mean, I don't follow this incredibly closely, but apparently she's kind of had some not so great hits, and they think that was actually sort of maybe dragging her down. And then you wonder, you know, like they're splitting everything. And was he, you know, upset? Because I don't know. I don't know. Couples' assets, including a $60 million Beverly Hills mansion, could be split if there's no prenup agreement. And again, I have not independently sourced this, but according to the Daily Mail, there's no prenup. So if that's the case, they got to put the $60 million Beverly Hills mansion onto the market fire sale there, make sure that they split up everything. I mean, they don't have to fire sale it, right? They could just kind of have this divorce proceeding go on and on and on, but that's not fun. And then they have, some other assets. Apparently, Lopez, who appeared in films like Shotgun Wedding and Mother, which were both streaming successes, put $20 million of her own money into this, I don't know, some kind of reality show called This Is Me, Now a Love Story. And it was a visual accompaniment, quote, and this is from the Telegraph, I believe, an album that reached a disappointing number 38 in U.S. charts. Now, back in the spring, she actually canceled a planned summer tour saying she wanted to spend more time with her family. And at that time, people were starting to notice that her relationship with Ben had suffered. And at that time, critics also happened to note that ticket sales had been extraordinarily poor for this tour that she was going to do. And so then they said, okay, well, are they hanging out together, right? She canceled the tour to spend more time with the family and kind of work on her marriage. And then they didn't hang out together at all. Apparently, they were in different places all summer on different coasts. And so consequently, the rumor mill started. But I think that the rumors were there probably for good reason. So now the question becomes, how do you divvy up the assets of this couple? And I'm wondering if the fact that there was no prenup actually put some outside strain on the relationship. What do you guys think? Because now all of a sudden it's like, well, this is mine and this is yours, but now it's all ours together. And I just wonder if, given where they were at this particular point in life, if it made it harder in some ways, especially if she was not seeing success and in fact he was. So again, J-Lo and Ben Affleck, just because I have to keep you apprised of all things news, right? The fun stuff too. Not that this is fun. I don't like seeing people get divorced. I actually think marriage is one of the bedrocks of our society and foundation, and part of the key to having a stable culture. I think this was her fourth marriage. I mean, so she likes marriage too, maybe perhaps a little too much. Captain Kirk writing, maybe they will leave the U.S. when Trump wins, because those Hollywood people really, really don't seem to like Donald Trump or the U.S., and I'm like, this is what got you where you are, guys. Like, the fact that we have the opportunity we have here, don't forget that. Anybody who's become successful, it's like they want to pull the rug up from underneath with everybody else. And that's why I can't stand this baloney that Michelle Obama was feeding us. I mean, total garbage.
We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth. If we bankrupt a business,
generally, this woman really bothers me because I think there's a lot wrong with Michelle Obama. Just so much wrong with both of the Obamas. I think they're incredibly entitled. And this is part of the danger that we now face as a nation, where DEI is going to replace hard work. I don't think so, because you know what? Hard work eventually, that's what gets you there. A meritocracy is what gets you there. A colorblind society that doesn't see whether you're male or female, but just sees whether or not you're succeeding, not whether you're black or white, for goodness sakes. I mean, stop with the excuses. These are all excuses, and it's going to get worse because Kamala Harris has a policy in which she would enact for our housing crisis very inflationary tools, like giving out $25,000 each to each and every homeowner that's new for the first time. Oh, you never bought a house before? Well, here's $25K. We're just going to write you a check, just like they've done with college loans. Funny how that works. Free money kind of tends to create inflation. The $1.8 billion that the Democrats spent in their Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, give me a break. Aptly named, right? Aptly named Inflation Reduction Act that led to none other than mass inflation. They should be ashamed. But America should be ashamed if they pick this team again. Because it is the same team, thank you very much. There's no change. They're going to give you more. They may double down. Medic Mike, concerned that she's more communist than Bernie. Yeah. Kamala's dad is a post-Keynesian economist, so she grew up around this
I can imagine
stuff.
what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know? What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by...
I wonder if that's what he used to say to her as a little girl. Kamala, growing up, you know what? Kamala, honey, you can be unburdened by what has been. Effectively, she's trying to say, use the past to make the future better. But no, in typical Kamala Harris word salad special, we have to get something that doesn't make any sense. They asked her about her economic policy the other day. She made no sense. When you ask her about her border policy, she makes no sense. I'll tell you, it would make no sense in the world to elect Kamala Harris as the President of the United States. And I certainly hope that everybody kind of sees through it. Do your part, share the show, like, subscribe, all of that. I want to remind you that no matter what, I'm here for you every day. And I'm here with you alongside my colleague at 76 Research, Rob Horton, holding your hand through this market, holding your hand because you know what, guys? It's kind of wild out there. I get it, right? Like it's hard to figure out when you look at the market today and you see investors are trying to react to the 818,000 jobs that turned out we didn't get. You know what? If you were paying attention to Rob and I, you probably would have had an inkling because we've talked about this disconnect, right, between inflation, the lack of wage inflation, and the job market. And we have a report coming out momentarily on this. I encourage you to go to 76 Research. You know what? If nothing else, just get the free stuff, okay? Just get the free stuff. Sign up. Put your email in there, 76research.com, or go to 76report.com. Both of them will take you to the same place. And for those of you that really are passionate, I hope you are, about investing for your future so that you have a better chance no matter what they do, because I don't think you can rely on Social Security. Thank you very much. Take a look at the Income Builder portfolio. The basic income portfolio, that is a good sort of starting place for you to get 10 to 15 names. You can get the 76 report, and we've got a few names in there for you that you should take a look at. Go look at that right now because the 76 report you can get with code word dollars, just $1 a month, DOLLAR. Use the code, get it, look at those stock picks, look at that research, start trying to have your money work for you because compound interest matters. And over time, even if you just have a few years, this stuff matters. And for those of you that are like, you know what, Trish, I don't have the money, I can't do this right now. I'm going to give you some tough love. I am. And because it's what I would say to the kids, you know, to anyone and anyone that I care about. And that's that you may think that you don't, but you do. I guarantee you can find it somewhere. And you got to think about prioritizing yourself and your security first. So this is kind of like, you know, this is a mind over matter thing. Instead of going out to dinner on Friday night or going to a movie or doing, you know, going and getting a latte, for goodness sakes, please don't do that. Please don't do that. I hope you're not. Same store sales at Starbucks, by the way, they're down like 9%. I think that's because people have finally figured out maybe I don't want to pay $10 every time I go to Starbucks and then wait in line and have some nasty barista then ask me for a giant tip. Don't do that. Every $9 that you would have spent at Starbucks, take that money and put it into something real. I mean it. It's easy to do. You can get an app on your phone. Your bank account connects to your stock market. And you know what? Trades are free. They are totally free. You can buy and sell at no cost. So the world is changing. You got to keep up with it because there's a lot of opportunity out there. And by the way, a lot of big opportunity on the horizon, given what's happening within technology. So Mike, thank you for, yes, it is tough love, peace of mind. You guys get it. You're laughing at me. I know, the tough love. I mean it though. I mean it only because it's too easy to say, well, I can't do it. I can't afford it right now. And I'm telling you, you can't afford not to. You can't afford not to invest. So I am on my soapbox and I want to be really, really direct with you on that because you can sit around and gripe that the left is stealing from us, or you can do something proactive about it. And little by little, this stuff matters. Mike, I think you actually, I appreciate your support. I think you actually sent something in as a, I just want to thank you. You know, all of you guys, by the way, I just want to thank you for being here, for being part of this community, for being a team member. So many of you are team members, and we're going to do something tomorrow for the team members. So if you haven't signed up, consider that. We just occasionally go live now and then, and we'll have this discussion, and it's just you and me, and it's sort of private so that nobody else can come in. And I take a lot of your questions. So save your questions up. I'm thinking about doing that tomorrow afternoon or Friday afternoon. We'll see how it goes. But it is wonderful to have you here. I appreciate all that you guys do. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you share, leave a comment below, and we will talk again tomorrow.